Today we're going to be installing the Switchstylez Airbox switch panel for the F4i. So this Switchstylez panel is the Airbox mounted panel. It does ignition with kill, start, dual accessory, so you can do a secondary fan or lights. You have the option of getting a vinyl wrap. I did the fake carbon fiber. You can also upgrade to real carbon fiber. You can get a secondary security kill, and then you can do a USB 3.0 with a voltmeter as well. So there's a lot of other options you can add to this, but I just went with the more basic panel. So what you get when you order, you get the switch panel itself, a 4-pin relay pack. The panel has a 9-pin plug, and then you have a fused wire that connects straight to your battery. And after looking at everything and reading the instructions, everything looks plug and play, super simple to install. It should be pretty easy and quick. You don't need a lot of electrical experience to put this in. I will take you through the install. So I removed all of the left side hand controls so far. The horn does come with it as well. I had the clutch switch bypass with a fuse, so I'll have to decide whether I still want to bypass it at the other end of the harness so I can still start it in any gear, or just not worry about it, and then the bike will only start in neutral. So what I'm going to do first, before taking the tank and the airbox off and fully mounting it, is I'm going to connect everything, make sure the panel operates correctly, and then I'll go ahead and take everything off and install it. So like the first thing that's really easy is this relay pack. It's just going to connect right here, just plugs right into there, and then this will also slide into the plug on the switch panel. But basically, you're just plugging in to the 4-pin, the 9-pin. This goes in to another connector on the panel. You ground it. There's a green wire that you ground, which I'll probably use this bolt right there. You send the other pink with white wire back to the battery, put the fuse in, and you should be good to go. This is the wire that's going to go to the battery, and there's the inline fuse. And I'm going to put in a 10 amp fuse. They didn't say what to use in the instructions. I kind of reached out to Haj and to ask him what he recommended, but he hasn't responded yet, so I'm gonna go with 10. That's kind of what everything in the fuse box uses besides the main fuse. So if it doesn't work, then I can just change the value, but 10 is what we're gonna go with for now.
So I did get a response a little bit later on what fuse I should use. He said it should have come with a 30 amp fuse, but I didn't see one in there. The 10 amp that I chose to use and I'm still currently using, he said will handle one fan on the accessory, but if I want to use dual accessories, you should put in a higher rated fuse, so probably a 20, or maybe even just go up to the 30. Nothing bad's going to happen, you're just going to pop the 10 amp.
This pink wire goes to the other wire I just showed you, to the battery, so you just shove it in here and then crimp it. This guy is going to connect right into here. Your blue and your yellow are for your dual accessories. So I'm not putting on my R6 fan yet, and I'm not going to have lights, so I'm really going to only need to use one of these so far. So nothing's going to get done with this. And then this guy goes into your 9-pin black connector right here. And then this green wire goes to your ground, which this is a nice bolt to use right there. And then we should be ready to fire it up and test it out. So I'm getting ready to install the switch panel into the airbox. I've drilled 2 mounting holes for the panel. I dremeled out a little notch here because I'll show you on the back side of the panel there's a nut that keeps the start switch in place there, and it kind of hits this part of the airbox, so I just kind of gave myself a little pocket so it'll sit flush. And then this notch here, I'll show you, is to get the wires out. I don't know if this is how they wanted me to do it, but this is how I'm going to run the wires back out this side of the airbox. And that's what I had to do. The plate pretty much covers it, and the only gap here is the wire harness coming through. This nut here on the bottom is what I was talking about that was getting in the way. Just kind of run the wire through there, and then get the panel lined up, and that's kind of how it looks. The wire's coming out here, and there's very little gap here. It's just enough to get this out. That's what it looks like when it's all mounted up inside the airbox. For mounting, I just did screw, washer, and then on the inside, it's just a washer and then a lock washer on each side. And I'm just gonna kind of finger tighten them up, take a screwdriver and hold this in place. I don't need it too tight to where it's cracking plastic. I just need it so this doesn't go anywhere and come loose. I'm gonna clean up the rest of the wire harness on the bike and then show you how that looks before I put the airbox back on. The one other thing you do have to do is take a heat gun and shrink this butt connector after you crimp it. Other than that, there's really nothing else you have to do to get this prepared. Everything else, like I said, is plug and play, so just don't forget to throw the heat gun on here and really tighten this whole thing up. I want to show you how I ran some of the wiring here. Usually, you know, this harness comes out up here. There's a little like tab thing here that it slips into the electrical tape on the harness. I just sliced the tape so it would come off here. Otherwise it stays pretty tight along the frame, and then you can't really maneuver this the way you want to. So cut the tape off here so you can get it off of here. Right now I just have the Speedo zip tied to the frame temporarily. I'm probably going to put it on the cage when I put that on, but I just need it out of the way because the stays off. And then you have a little plug here to the radiator. It's tied to the back of this Y here, so I ran it behind the frame back up to here. And then the Speedo wire is also shoved in here. I have the two Speedo plugs connected here and here. The other big gray plug I electrical taped, and I just have it shoved down in here. And then the rest of the wiring harness I ran behind my clean air mod over to here, because that's where the airbox switch panel is going to be. And then everything else is kind of shoved into here. When I get the airbox on, I will possibly move some of these things depending on how much space I have, but I kind of wanted to push everything out of the way. Just reroute that radiator plug behind the frame, kind of bring your Speedo stuff up to here. You can kind of stick it down in there. And I've got everything kind of shoved in there for now. And then this wiring harness that usually would go up to your key and your start or your right hand controls, I have here for now. That way it should be pretty easy to plug the airbox in. Everything's installed now. The panel's mounted in the airbox. I put some sleeving over the ground wire and then the wire running to the battery over here. This is kind of how I have everything routed. I have the relay pack kind of along the crossbar up top here. It's plugged in right there. And then the 9-pin, if you can see, is plugged in underneath the crossbar. That's why I ran the rest of that OEM harness down there. I'll probably do something better to secure all this extra wiring once I mount up the fan. It'll just stay in this area for now. I'll make it look a lot cleaner. It's kind of a mess right now, but I just want to make sure with it all installed now that it still functions as well. This was how to install the airbox mounted switch panel from Switchstylez. Hopefully this video makes the install pretty straightforward. I mean, it's pretty much plug and play. And the hardest part is probably routing the harness up into the rest of the frame here, and then maybe cutting out a little bit of the airbox to route the wiring out of there as well. But it's pretty straightforward. Test the operation before you install it, then go ahead and install it, route your wires, get everything nice and set up. You can take off your ignition and your right controls. I'm going to be swapping throttle assembly, so I'm just going to wait and do that all at the same time. Yeah, I'm really excited about this switch panel. I think it's a nice addition to the bike, and it kind of cleans up everything. Super nice.
Hide a stash in the carpet. Yeah, we trapping out apartments. I ain't done where you start shit.